All right, welcome back to the Roamaroo podcast. We're just going to do a light topic today.
Very simple, super chill.
Yeah, no vulnerability at all. How marriage changes after kids.
It doesn't change.
No, everything stays the same, right?
It's just, one foot in front of the other, like it's always been.
I think this is the podcast that I wish I heard before having kids, because nobody warns you how much kids change everything. I mean, it's not, you're expecting that you might have a lack of sleep and your schedules might change a bit, but I feel like I wasn't prepared for like the total revamp of not just having kids, but how you change as individuals and how we change as a couple, how we evolve, or how some couples don't.
I think there's a lot of people who handle it well, and there's a lot of people who don't. I think it comes down to, there's some, I'll speak from the guy perspective. I think there's some guys who, or I'll just say people in general, there's some people who are very selfish and aren't ready to give up some of the things they have to give up when you have kids. And there's others who are like, hey, I'm having kids. This is what I want. Like, I've made this decision, and some things you don't expect, but others you do. And it's like, we're in this to have fun. So It's tough. It's and the other thing is you can't explain to anyone what it's going to be like. Like you can tell people like, oh, it's going to be hard. You're not going to have as much time. And people are like, yeah, I get it. I have a dog. I have to take care of them. And you're like, no, you have no idea what it's like.
I think sharing your own experiences is always helpful. So I feel like if we can share some of our experiences, that might be helpful for people, because this is the stuff no one wants to talk about. This is like, parenthood is a blessing, and it is, and it's really hard. And I think if people heard and understood that it feels hard because it's supposed to be hard, then they might not feel as alone, because no one's talking about what goes on behind closed doors. And I feel like that just turns into something where, because no one else talks about it, well, then I don't want to talk about it. I feel different if it's hard for me. Why is it hard for me? I love this person. Like there's so many things that go into it. Identity change happens, especially from the mom's perspective. Like you go through such a matrescence of this evolution of who you are as a human, and then how you show up in a relationship while also being needed by this new tiny human, or if you have multiple tiny humans, like that's so much stress. It just is.
There's so many things that come to mind, and I don't even know where to start, but there's at least for guys, like, yes, you have the responsibility of helping and taking care, but like it doesn't fully hit guys until like that you're a dad and the responsibilities until like actually the baby's a little bit older, because it's just a leech on mom. Like, yes, you're helping out, but it could easily happen where the dad's not doing much, changing a few diapers, helping out, but a lot of the load is on the mom. And then it like changes. I'm saying it depends on the couple.
Yeah. And I would even challenge that, because I think while there might not be as much going on directly with the dad and the baby, the dad's role is, I think, to support the mom in her then helping support the baby. So like food, water, helping take care of the toddler if you have another child, as we know, like that is all a huge contribution. And then in the pregnancy phase, again, supporting the pregnant wife or, pregnant partner, that's a huge help.
But depending on the setup, like if you've got family who's close by, and you've got an auntie or a mom or a mother-in-law who's helping out, like there are situations where like the dad doesn't have to change too much. I'm not saying should or shouldn't. Like they may not feel the impact of having a kid until all of a sudden they start moving around and they start wanting more of your time. And then that's what I'm just saying. Like there are situations where it doesn't hit the dad till later, but it hits you. Mm-hmm. And then when you have two kids, then it's like all in. And I was thinking the other day about how I kind of laughed about the situation when you remember when Scotland was like, I don't know, I can't remember how old, 18 months or a year, where she only wanted me at bedtime for like, it seemed like forever. It was probably only a few weeks. Yeah. And I look back now and laugh. I'm like, that was overwhelming. Like she wanted me to put her to bed. I was the only one. And for some reason, I remember both of us feeling like we're just so exhausted. And I look back now, I'm like, that was one kid. Like, what were we doing that was so overwhelming with just the one child?
Well, because it was hard at the time. And I know we have different perspective and different challenges now, but we used to think like things before kids were hard. And now we laugh at that. Like, oh my gosh, we had so much time. What were we thinking? And then you add to it and you add to your plate and you add to your plate and you evolve and you get stronger. But yeah, I mean, I remember that point because I feel like I had been putting her to bed for so long. And then I was like, oh, I get a break. And you were like, wait, this is a lot.
It was nonstop. It was just like, dad. And I was like, I just wanted like one night off. And I was like, Dad is not here. And she's like, no, he's downstairs. Like she knew it. She knew it. But yeah, I don't know why. Like, but then now it's like, because we have two, there's no break.
That's the hardest part, 1 to 2, right? There's no break.
But it's almost like harder with the one where you kind of, okay, hear me out. So mentally, sometimes it might feel harder because you're like, oh, I'm going to get a break. Now that you have two, you just know you're on. Like there's no stopping until they're asleep. And then even then, like they might be waking up. Mm-hmm. So you just know you're on no matter what. And then like the glimpses of like, oh, I got a little freedom. Like that's extra credit in your day. Whereas when you have one, you're like expecting to get free time and expecting to be like, I'm going to be able to go do all this stuff. And then when you can't, you're like an upset child. So it's, yeah, there's a difference between the one. It's like, I don't want to call it part-time parenting. I know I've heard that phrase, but like it kind of is because you can easily pass the child on and off. Whereas with two, especially at this point, like they're needing hands-on all the time.
And all of this, of course, is dependent on your roles in your family, right? Yeah. Like if one parent is home with the kids and the other parent is out working, or a work from home parent versus, we're both entrepreneurs. We both work from home. We're both equal parents. So
I ask,
but it wasn't as easy as we thought it would be in terms of figuring out those roles. I feel like that would be worth exploring.
Yes. Well, I want to explore that, but I want to tell a cute story real quick. We were watching a movie and it was A Secret Life of Pets, and like the owners go off to work. And I was asking, I was like, oh, where's she going? She goes, oh, she's going to work. And I go, do mommy and daddy go to work? She goes, yeah. And I was like, where? She goes, to your office. So I was like, oh, you get it. Like you kind of understand. Like we actually go to work a little bit, even though she's in and out of here all the time. Like, so it's, but I think let's explore the challenges of
the roles. I think, as we change, as you have a baby, you guys are, let's see, I'll just share in our experience, both all hands on deck with the first baby. But I was breastfeeding. So it felt like, a lot was on me. And then the recovery is hard. I mean, I will say that my first and second postpartum experiences were totally different physically. My first one was so challenging. My second one was not as challenging. And so I know that when I say postpartum is hard, and it is, our experiences are different no matter who you are, where you are listening to this. But I'm going to validate that it is hard no matter what. But just that recovery, the lack of sleep, the figuring out breastfeeding was really, really challenging. And then
on the first one,
and I have to say, like, if I'm being honest, I was resentful of why isn't this, like, why can't he bear some of this? And
I probably didn't as much as I should in the first one.
But biologically, you also couldn't.
But I tried to. I remember one parent saying something like, there was a mom who's like, oh, I haven't changed a diaper yet. No, because the husband was so supportive.
Oh, I was like, wait, the mom
said that.
I thought you said the dad.
Yeah, the mom. Like, well, I've also heard the other side too, but that's a whole nother story. Yeah, no, but I've heard the moms, and I remember that. Like, so I tried to in the first one, tried to always like.
You did change a lot.
I can remember being like, you'd be feeding her, and I'd be in the office, and you'd be like, oh, your diaper needs changed, and I would like run into the room and take care of it, because really at the beginning, like there's. They're on mom nonstop, especially the first few months. And then, we're hitting month 3 and they start to get a little freedom.
A little personality.
But yeah, the roles of, you kind of understand like the old fashioned roles, like why they kind of worked a lot. but it's also like things have changed, and it both ways can work. You can have the one parent stay at home, one parent work, or you can have both. And it took us, we made mistakes, like because both of us want to work, we waited way too long before getting help. So if you guys are out there and you're thinking, hey, I want to work, both of us want to work, but we also want to parent, like get help sooner than you think. It was it over a year?
It was over a year.
It was over a year where we were trying to run a business and parent. And by the time we got help, like we didn't realize how crazy we were going until we got help.
Yeah. So think about that. I mean, and think about what that can do for a marriage, because you end up, yes, you can be partners and teammates, but it's like I felt like we didn't get, looking back, I felt like we didn't get as much one-on-one bonding in that first year. We had a few date nights. And then once we had help, it was like,
that's
breathe.
Looking back to my first story about putting her down. That's why we didn't have any help. So it was like all day we were on, and it was like, I just want a little bit of a break. And she's like, I want you to put me to bed. And you're like, I don't get any free time at all. That's why it was so tough. Because now we have help. And so we have breaks. So when, time comes to put her down or nighttime or dinner, it's like, hey, we're here to be present.
Right. And I have so much respect for stay-at-home parents.
Oh my God.
Right?
We have friends who are doing it. I'm like, I don't know how you're staying
incredible.
sane.
Yeah. I know.
Well, I get like somewhat if that is it, because we're also looking at it through the eye of like, I have this to-do list of like work things I need to do and life things I need to do. If I put all mental energy to like house and kids, like I kind of get it. I'm not saying it's easy,
right?
But like that is your job, and it is a lot of work, and it just like most jobs, it never ends. Like you would never have it perfect. Dinner's never going to be just right. You're not going to have all your groceries. The house isn't going to be clean, but kids are probably going to be fed and happy. So
I would agree. I mean, this question came up for me recently, and it is, would more marriages survive if childcare was universal? Because we've seen the impact that childcare can have on a marriage in terms of it helping, that gives that breathing room. But childcare in the United States is very cost prohibitive in many ways. Either a daycare can be more than a mortgage, a nanny definitely. So what if, and I'm like imagining this dream world, aka probably almost every other country outside of the US, but do you think that would positively impact marriages? And then, from there, the family unit as a whole, if childcare was universal?
So initially my thought was like, no, because I think humans are like a gas and we just fill up the space and time that we're given financially, physically, emotionally, whatever it might be. And so I thought, okay, let's say you're given, I don't know, daycare from the government in a way, in around money, whatever it might be. You're given some type of support. Well, then maybe you have more kids, or maybe you use that time. I don't know. But I also think if people were given more support or access to more support, like some of the other governments, longer maternity leave, paternity leave, then I think people are going to have more kids, and I think there'd be a stronger family bond. So I think that's where it might pay off.
So care to fuel the economic engine.
I think all of it. I think so. My theory is that if you were given, everyone in the States, 6 months paid leave, having kids, paternity, maternity leave, then you're more likely to have kids. We've heard that. People are like, if I had that, I probably would have had more children.
Yeah.
And so I think with that, there's the one side to say, oh, the bond of the family would be stronger, the family unit would be tighter. But there's also the thought of like, there's the chaos of that. So you don't know. It'd be very complicated. I think families would be more, there would be more families or more kids and families.
I agree that there would be more kids. Where do kids come from?
Yeah.
So perhaps it would help the marriage. I don't know if it would make or break a marriage. I think that's more complicated. There's more to that, but I do think it would help.
Here's something I think would be better for marriages, and it's kind of, I think when you look at the stress of it all, and this is a very hard situation because people's financial situations are all different. if people can live under their means and get more help and to have more free time, like basic, this is the whole, economic esoteric question of like, where should I spend my money? It's like, it's that whole happiness thing of when you spend it on things, unless that thing is solving a problem for you. The example is like, if you have an extension cord that you have to step over every day to get in your desk, like spend the $10 to get an extension cord, and now you don't have that headache. Like that will give you happiness. Buying the fancier car doesn't give you happiness. So it's like if you were able to adjust your financial means so that you can get more help to take care of the kids and be able to take more dates or whatever, that I think would be a huge impact.
Yes,
but it requires, financial due diligence and control of where you're spending.
I think that's what was so hard in the beginning after having a kid, because we didn't have any maternity or paternity leave. So then my ability to work is impacted. So I'm not making as much money. Then I don't feel like I want to hire help because it's expensive.
Yep.
And so I stay home, but then everything is impacted negatively, I would say. The amount of attention I can give my child is impacted negatively because I am torn in two places. And then the attention that I can give my work is impacted negatively because I'm torn in two places. So I think that paid care in some capacity can help support these engines, this family engine, this economic engine. I feel like I'm going on a tangent here about that, but
no, it's good.
I think it's really important in the end to support the marriage, because if I can bring that back, I think the marriage is the core foundation of the family that's built upon. I always think that we need to pay attention to each other and communicate with each other first, and then that can trickle out to the children instead of the other way around. And I feel like sometimes like the attention goes to the children, and it has to at certain times of life, more so than it goes to the marriage. And I feel like that's when marriages start to fragment, or you start to be just parent side by side instead of together.
Yeah. And I think we should also clarify what we're talking about with some of this paid leave is, some things that are offered in a lot of European countries.
Countries all over the world.
Minimum of like 3 months paid leave at, 75% of your income, just typically, something like that.
Yeah, it ranges from country to country. But I mean, not just European countries. We're talking about South America, Africa, Asia, all over. There's only six countries in the world that don't have paid leave.
And then you have some as large as 18 months, possibly?
3 years in the Czech Republic.
Wow. That's the large. Okay, I didn't realize that. So that's what we're talking about, that first initial hard part. And the one thing I've always had an issue with, I can't say always, after having kids, is we've got this gap of life where, so we take care. Oh, it's him. I thought that was you. I thought that was you like breathing in
right now, by the way.
We have this, we get older and we think, Social Security, Medicare, all that. We have these government programs to help people at the later parts of life. We have public school at kids when they're 5 and up. And then there's this gap of like when they're first born, it's like you don't get any help.
Yeah.
And people are like, well, they haven't put any money into the system. It's like they're going to. It's like, and even in Social Security, there's people who haven't paid who are getting Social Security. Most of the time, for most people, it's what you've paid, you're supposed to get back. But we also know that's another issue where it's like people are living longer than expected, so they're getting more money, and it's going to go bankrupt, they think. But that's another tangent. In the end, it's a government subsidized program through tax dollars. Why are people so against the idea of supporting the child, even though it might go to the parent? And a lot of people are like, if you have a baby, it's on you. It's like, no, think of it as supporting the baby. Think of it as supporting you when you are helpless so that you can have a better start. Mm-hmm. And that's where people really get tied up, is this whole thing of, if you have a baby, it's on you. And it's like, yes, you're right, it is. But also, if we all had this support, which we all have access to government insurance when we get older, but we're not going to get any of that when we're younger. Sorry?
Maybe.
It's I don't know, it's a bit of a quandary.
But I mean, who are these people that are getting help? They're the people that are working and paying taxes.
Right.
And eventually these children are going to pay taxes. So I think we need some representation if we're going to have taxation.
Yes. A little bit.
But we have, so we don't go on too much of a paid leave tangent. We actually interviewed Dawn Hucklebridge on another episode. She's the director of Paid Leave for All. It's a really good conversation. Yes. But back to marriages. But this all contributes, because I think the finances, that's a really tough part of a marriage. It can be. It's a hot topic in a marriage. And then, everything changes.
And I think I just want to probably share like our evolution of the roles that's changed. Because I know from mine, like, while I tried to be as helpful as possible, like, so we had Scotland, I tried to be as helpful as possible, but not knowing the demands that were on you. And as things evolved, like, the one thing is, I think both of us didn't realize how quickly our game plan needed to change. Like, meaning when you have a kid, first 3 months, you have a game plan, and you're like, oh, we've got this. Like, we figured it out. And then 3 to 9, like, things start changing. And you have to realize, like, both of you have to be aligned. Like, things are going to change, and our game plans, our agreements are going to all of a sudden become null and void. So whatever that might be, just realize, like, you're going to need to sit down again and go, this isn't working. We need to shift.
Yes, it's constant adaptation.
And I feel like we did an okay job of that. Like, I can remember going out and having a cocktail or something and being like, having a heart-to-heart about what was working, what wasn't. And I can remember one specifically, which this might bore some people, but like, it was the idea of like putting Scotland down. And you thought that it was kind of this agreement. And not that one person was wrong or right, but it's an interesting thing to share. You kind of thought like, oh, if I'm putting her down, you thought I was watching to see if you needed help.
Right.
And my thought was, if you're putting her down, I'm not going to pay attention on the monitor or anything until you reach out. Because if you're helping her and I'm watching you worrying about it, then we're both worrying about it. So Collette and I had this misalignment where basically she was kind of thinking like, if I'm putting her down having difficulty, like, you should be watching the monitor.
I just thought you were.
You thought you were. Yeah, you thought I was. And my thought was like, well, that's basically then both of us putting her down. If I'm watching the monitor while you're putting her down, then we're not getting anything accomplished during our day. And we just had this honest conversation over cocktails at a bar, and we realized like, oh, okay. And then so we came up with a simple agreement that was like, we don't expect either one to be watching, but if the one is putting her down, needs help, ask for help before you explode. And, that's kind of one we've had going forward. It's like, don't be afraid to ask for help, but just do it before you're at a 10. Yeah. And also, as things evolved and sometimes things, you get the 2s and things become tougher and whatnot, don't be afraid to accept help too, because we can always get into this, like, I'm going to do it mentality as a parent. And the other one realizes like, it's okay to take a break. Like, just tap them out and take a break, and it's okay to do that.
Yeah.
But
you have to speak up and have that conversation because there's expectations, and expectations hold weight. And then they can lead to resentment, anger, and then all of a sudden you're talking about who's making the coffee, and one person's yelling and the other person's going, we're just making coffee, and you don't know why, but it's not about the coffee.
It's not.
Something like that.
It's not about the coffee.
It's not about the coffee.
Yeah.
Like, what's it about?
But it's, the overall premise is like, just realize you're going to have a plan. Like, even right now, Summit is turning 3. Like, I know that things are 3 months. I know things are going to change soon. Yeah. He's starting to become more active, and what has been working for us is going to have to shift, and we'll figure it out. And I know also with that, like, we're also prepared to ask for help. I mean, we have people who are already helping, but like, maybe their roles will shift a little bit too. Mm-hmm. And well, I don't know what the plan is, but we'll do what we need to balance it out.
I think something that would have helped me before having kids when it comes to how kids impact your marriage is realizing that nothing is permanent. Like, all of these phases are temporary. That happens with kids. Like, oh, he's not sleeping through the night. Okay, well, he will eventually. Or, she's still in diapers. Like, well, she won't be walking down the aisle in diapers, something like that. That also applies to marriages. But the key with the marriage is that you have to work. You have to continually work and communicate and acknowledge and remove the ego and connect and find those, intimate ways to connect now while having to keep, he's like headbutting the microphone. So I think realizing that this season is hard, but it's not permanent. And I know you've said this to me and reminded me recently on times when stress is high.
What did I say?
Same team. Same team. We are on the same team. It is us, not against them. You know what I mean?
You've said that to me too. You've been like, same team, man. And I'm like, yeah, I know.
But I'm frustrated and I'm tired and I'm not thinking straight. And
yeah, lack of sleep can just, and be prepared for that. If you have a bad night, like, you can almost just expect that day is going to be tough. Right now, we've got a newborn and then we've got a daughter with a really bad earache and she's not sleeping. And so we haven't been sleeping well. And it's just like, okay, like your day's not going to be exactly what you want it to be. You may get 60% of what you wanted to do.
Right. And I've heard that 60% thing. I've heard people talk about that. It's like, and I'm not very good at remembering to bring this up in a relationship, but saying like, I'm only at 10% today. I think it's Brene Brown talks about that.
Yeah.
Well, I'm at a 70, so I'm going to put the kids down for bed tonight, or, whatever it is. But I feel like we've gotten so much better at this having the second kid. And maybe it's like we're forced to, but it's like, hey, I'm exhausted. Can I have 20 minutes at some point today to lay down? And like, we've been able to do things like that. And we're fortunate to both be home to do that. But I think that then helps the marriage. That's how you're showing up in different seasons. And that's what I'm talking about, like the different phases of parenthood. Like in the beginning, like sleep is a love language, especially for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, you allowed me to sleep. And I like feel so much love when you support me in that way.
I think one point, I love that actually, sleep is a love language. It's probably a t-shirt somewhere. I mean, the one thing too is like when you're going through this, and I think in any healthy marriage, like be prepared to have discussions and not fights or arguments, but some type of argument, disagreement. If you're not having that at all, to some degree of, hey, misalignment. I'm not saying you have to be shouting at each other, but just like, hey, we need to have a talk. Then I feel like that's probably not good. Or maybe you just have the perfect marriage. Who knows? But I think just be prepared. You're going to have that and you're going to have more of it. And if you haven't gone through some type of professional coaching in your relationship, meaning a therapist, and you're about to have kids, or even if you have kids, like go do it. And it's one thing that the idea is like, we're not taught how to be in a relationship. No one teaches us. But everyone's going to be in one and you figure it out. And there's a lot of stuff you get most of it, but some of the, like to be a high level performer in anything, you need a good coach. Mm-hmm. In sports, you need a good coach. You need to have that feedback loop saying like, well, you did this right, but you also could have tweaked this here and here. And a lot, when it comes to communication and sales and a relationship or whatever, like that small little tweak goes a very long way. Also in parenting, the way you phrase things, the way you handle stuff with a kid, like small little tweaks that you change in the way you talk, like can go so far. And I think that for us, I mean, I read this book. I recommend everyone read it. It's old and it's cheesy, but it's a Dave Ramsey financial book. I think it's like the Total Money Makeover. So cheesy, but there's a lot of good principles in personal finance. And there's also, one of the biggest things was like, I go get my oil changed before the engine's locked up. I go to therapy with my wife before we're having a breakdown. And that's what I've recommended to all sorts of people. And that's what we did, and so that's helped us tremendously. I mean, we haven't seen a therapist in a long time. But
I think we've seen a therapist a lot.
We've seen a therapist a lot.
Over the years. I mean, we've been together 15 years now, and every car needs the tune-up, and every marriage does too. And like when we feel that, it's especially around, I feel like, big changes in life, welcoming a baby, getting married, all of these things, moving, all of these are huge stressors, and they impact relationship. And we go, I don't know what's happening. I need help. And I think being able to ask for help and being able to admit that we don't know all the answers is a huge attribute in a family, in a marriage.
And here's a little tip that learned first, that you don't need to go see a therapist to see this, but it can help. Learned it from Matthew McConaughey. Turns out it's actually like a professional.
Right.
We talked to a therapist, Aaron. And oh my God,
Steven.
Steven.
Yeah.
And basically it's the idea of like, have a third person, you know? So Matthew McConaughey would be like,
bad.
I know, have a third person like in your, here, I'll just explain it. Matthew McConaughey would be like, all right, Matthew, like what's wrong? And basically you're externalizing the problem so you're able to look at it.
You talk to yourself in the third person.
You talk to yourself in third person. And I've started to do that. And so as like, you know, we've been going through all these evolutions, and sometimes I'll be like, all right, Scott, what's the problem? Like Colette's upset. You know, she's frustrated. What's the problem? And then you start to break it down. Why? Okay, well, we've got this kid. The kid's not sleeping, blah, 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 like this. Or what could I do? And it's like, you know, ask that, like also the idea of like, how can I serve her? How can I serve the family? And all those questions start to usually help you get to a much better place versus the idea of like, well, she's mad at me and I've done all this.
I'm right and you're wrong.
I'm right. You're wrong. It's like,
throw that out.
Throw that out. Because you're never, like Renee Brown, no relationship, especially marriage, is equal. It's not going to be equal. And I made the joke the other day about like, if you were to try to keep score, it'd be like the dad being like, well, I took out, you know, I changed the diapers, I cleaned the bottles, I did this. And then you would go to the scoreboard and it would be like, Mom gave birth. Dad. It's like, oh yeah, I forgot about
Wiped it all out.
Wiped it all out. So it's never going to be equal.
No. But again, if I could just say one thing, it would be same team.
Same team, man. We need to get jerseys.
Same team, man.
All right. Well, on that note.
And I want to hear from everybody that's listening. What's one thing that's kept your relationship strong after kids? Or one thing you wish you had more support with that has impacted your relationship? I'm curious because we're always learning. That's how we get better.
What is one thing you wish you had? An au pair?
A trustworthy childcare is a game changer.
Yeah, I think getting help earlier.
Yeah.
If we did do it all over again, like just asking for help earlier. Yeah.
But having access to that too is so difficult. I mean, it's the trustworthiness of like vetting this person. It takes time. Right, baby?
All right, buddy. I think he's waking up.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks so much, guys.
Thanks. Bye.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you're learning from and or enjoying this podcast, please subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us on Instagram and TikTok. These are great free ways to support this podcast. Also, please subscribe to this podcast on both Spotify and Apple. On both of those platforms, you can leave us up to a 5-star review, which would help us out greatly. Please also check out the sponsors mentioned in today's episode. That's the best way to support this show. If you have any questions or topics you'd like us to cover, please put those in the comment sections in YouTube. And yes, we do read all the comments.